There were nights when the world felt unbearably quiet. Nights when you lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering why life seemed heavier for you than for others. In those moments, it felt as though no one truly understood the weight you were carrying. People saw your smile during the day, but they did not see the silent wars that took place in your heart after the lights went out. If you are a chosen one, your life often follows a path that others cannot easily understand. From the outside, it may look like misfortune or struggle. But from a deeper perspective, those experiences were never random. They were shaping something powerful inside you. Pain has a strange way of revealing truth. It strips away illusions. When everything falls apart, you begin to see people, situations, and even yourself more clearly than ever before. Many people spend their entire lives surrounded by comfort, never forced to confront the deeper parts of their soul. But you were not given that path. Your journey required something different. There were moments when you felt abandoned. Times when people you trusted walked away without explanation. Moments when doors closed just when you thought things were finally getting better. In those moments, it felt unfair. You may have asked God why things had to happen that way. But the truth is, those painful chapters were quietly building your strength. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every disappointment forced you to grow. Every lonely night strengthened a part of your spirit that comfort never could. What once felt like punishment was actually preparation. Chosen ones are not created through ease. They are forged through pressure. Think about the strongest metals in the world. They are not formed in calm environments. They are shaped by intense heat and relentless pressure. Without that process, the metal would remain weak and fragile. The same principle applies to the human soul. The trials you endured were not meant to break you. They were meant to refine you. At the time, you probably didn't realize what was happening. When you are in the middle of pain, it feels endless. Each day feels heavier than the last. You may have felt like you were walking through life without a map, unsure where you were going or why things kept falling apart. But while you were surviving those moments, something important was happening beneath the surface. Your character was forming. Strength is not something that appears suddenly. It grows slowly, quietly, often in the darkest seasons of life. The patience you have now came from moments when you had no choice but to wait. The wisdom you carry came from mistakes and lessons that were sometimes painful to learn. And the resilience you have today was born in battles no one else saw. There were times when you thought you couldn't continue. Yet somehow, you did. Each time life knocked you down, you found a way to stand again. Maybe not immediately, maybe not without tears, but you stood up. That ability to rise again is what separates chosen ones from the rest. Many people break when life becomes difficult. They allow bitterness to take over. They close their hearts and lose hope. But something inside you refused to disappear, even in the hardest moments. That quiet determination was never accidental. It was the evidence of a deeper strength being formed within you. The struggles you experienced also taught you empathy. When you know what pain feels like, you begin to see the world differently. You become more sensitive to the struggles of others. You notice the quiet sadness behind someone's smile. You recognize the exhaustion in someone who is pretending to be strong. Because you have lived it, chosen ones often become sources of strength for others. Not because they plan to, but because their own journey prepared them for it. The compassion you now carry is the result of everything you survived. What once wounded you now allows you to understand others in ways that few people can. Another important thing those painful seasons did was separate you from illusions. Sometimes we hold on to people, dreams, or environments that are not truly meant for us. We cling to them because they feel familiar or comfortable. But comfort does not always lead to growth. Pain forces change. When certain relationships ended or certain opportunities disappeared, it may have felt devastating. But looking back, you might realize that those endings created space for something more aligned with your true purpose. Sometimes what leaves your life is not a loss, but a redirection. The chosen path often requires letting go of things that no longer match the person you are becoming. And that process is rarely easy. Growth rarely is. But as time passes, something remarkable begins to happen. The same experiences that once made you feel weak now become the foundation of your strength. You start to notice that situations which once overwhelmed you no longer have the same power. Problems that once caused panic now feel manageable. Emotional storms that once lasted weeks now pass more quickly. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger. Your perspective changed. You learned that pain is temporary. You learned that every difficult season eventually gives way to a new chapter. And perhaps most importantly, you learned that you are capable of surviving more than you ever imagined. That realization changes everything. When you know your own strength, fear begins to lose its grip. You no longer panic at every challenge because you remember what you have already overcome. You carry a quiet confidence that does not need to be announced to the world. It is simply there. This is one of the hidden gifts of surviving hardship. It creates an inner stability that cannot easily be shaken. While others may crumble when unexpected difficulties arise, you remain grounded because you have already walked through storms that were far more intense. But there is another layer to this journey that many people do not talk about. When you survive deep pain, you also develop a stronger connection with your inner self and with God. During the moments when you felt completely alone, you may have discovered a kind of quiet prayer that did not require words. A conversation of the soul. Those silent conversations often become the place where healing begins. They remind you that even when people fail to understand your journey, you are not truly alone. There is guidance unfolding in ways that are not always visible at first. Chosen ones often experience periods of isolation because those seasons allow them to reconnect with their true identity. When the noise of the world fades away, you begin to hear your own inner voice more clearly. And that voice becomes your compass. You begin to realize that your life is not meant to follow the same path as everyone else. Your experiences have shaped you into someone who sees the world differently. The lessons you learned through pain have given you a deeper awareness that many people never develop. You notice patterns. You sense energy in people. You understand the importance of protecting your peace. These qualities were not given to you randomly. They were formed through every moment you thought you would not make it through. And now, something is changing. The strength that was quietly building inside you is beginning to reveal itself. Situations that once intimidated you no longer feel impossible. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach begin to appear. It is as if life is slowly opening new doors. This is not coincidence. When a person survives the refining process of pain, they emerge with a level of resilience that prepares them for greater responsibility and greater purpose. The challenges you faced were not meant to define you as someone broken. They were meant to reveal the warrior inside you. Not a warrior who seeks conflict, but one who has learned how to stand firm even when the world feels uncertain. Someone who knows that storms eventually pass and that strength is built through endurance. You are not the same person you were before those difficult seasons. You are wiser now, stronger now, more aware now, and most importantly, you carry a quiet understanding that every challenge you survived had meaning. The nights when you cried alone. The days when you felt misunderstood. The moments when you questioned everything. All of them were shaping the strength you carry today. If you look closely at your journey, you may realize something remarkable. The very experiences that once felt like the end of your story were actually the beginning of your transformation. They were preparing you for the person you were always meant to become. So if you ever find yourself remembering those painful chapters, try not to see them only as suffering. See them as the training ground where your spirit learned endurance. Because the truth is simple but powerful. The pain you survived was not wasted. It was preparing your strength. And as time continues to move forward, another realization slowly begins to unfold within you. The strength you gained from your past is not only meant for survival. It is meant for purpose. There was a time when your only goal was simply to make it through the day. You were focused on enduring the emotional storms, the uncertainty, and the silent questions that filled your mind. You were not thinking about purpose or destiny. You were just trying to breathe through the weight of it all. But now, something inside you has shifted. The same pain that once made you feel small has begun to reveal a deeper layer of power within you. You are no longer the person who feels completely lost when difficulties appear. Instead, you have become someone who understands that every storm carries a lesson. This is one of the quiet transformations that happens to chosen ones. At first, pain feels like destruction. It feels like life is tearing everything apart without reason. But later, when you look back, you begin to see the pattern. You realize that each difficult chapter was slowly guiding you toward a stronger version of yourself. The nights of loneliness taught you self-reliance. The betrayals taught you discernment. The disappointments taught you patience. And the moments of silence taught you how to listen to your soul. These lessons cannot be learned in comfortable seasons. They are only born in moments when life strips away everything that once made you feel secure. Many people run away from those moments. They distract themselves. They hide from the deeper questions. They try to fill the emptiness with noise and constant activity. But chosen ones often face those moments directly, even when it hurts. Because somewhere deep inside, your spirit understands that something meaningful is being formed through the struggle. Another powerful truth about the pain you survived is that it revealed your inner boundaries. Before those experiences, you may have given your time, energy, and loyalty too freely. You may have trusted people who did not deserve the depth of your heart. That is a painful lesson to learn. But through those experiences, you began to understand the importance of protecting your energy. You learned that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. You discovered that peace is more valuable than approval. And once that realization takes root, your life begins to change in quiet but powerful ways. You become more selective about who you allow into your circle. You stop chasing validation from people who never truly understood your journey. Instead, you begin to focus on living in alignment with your truth. This shift is not about becoming cold or distant. It is about becoming wise. Wisdom often grows from wounds that have healed. The pain you survived also awakened something else inside you, awareness. When you have walked through deep struggles, you begin to see life with clearer eyes. You recognize patterns that others overlook. You sense intentions that are not always spoken aloud. Your intuition becomes stronger. This heightened awareness is one of the hidden gifts that often comes from hardship. While others may move through life without questioning what lies beneath the surface, you have developed the ability to observe more deeply. You pay attention to energy, not just words. You notice how people behave when no one is watching. You see how someone reacts when others succeed or fail. You understand that character is revealed not in easy moments, but in difficult ones. These insights make you stronger, but they can also make you feel different from others. Sometimes you may feel like you are walking through life with a deeper awareness that not everyone shares. Conversations that once interested you may now feel shallow. Environments that once felt comfortable may now feel draining. This is another part of the chosen path. Growth often requires leaving behind old versions of yourself. It means stepping away from spaces that no longer match your spirit. And while that process can feel isolating at times, it is also a sign that your soul is evolving. You are becoming more aligned with who you truly are. There is also something remarkable about people who have survived great pain. They often carry a quiet light that others can feel. Even if you do not speak about your past struggles, there is a depth in your presence that people notice. Sometimes strangers feel comfortable sharing their stories with you. Sometimes friends seek your advice during difficult moments. It is not because you claim to have all the answers. It is because your spirit has been shaped by experience. People can sense authenticity. They can feel when someone has walked through darkness and emerged with compassion instead of bitterness. That kind of strength is rare. and it often becomes a source of healing for others. The battles you fought in silence were not meaningless. They were preparing you to become someone who understands the deeper layers of the human experience. Your empathy has grown. Your patience has expanded. Your perspective has matured. You know now that everyone carries hidden struggles. The person who appears confident may be fighting unseen fears. The person who smiles often may be hiding deep sadness. Because you have lived through your own storms, you are able to recognize the storms in others. This awareness changes the way you move through the world. You become less judgmental, more compassionate, more patient with the imperfections of others. But at the same time, you also become more protective of your peace. You learn that kindness does not mean allowing yourself to be mistreated. Compassion does not mean sacrificing your boundaries. Balance becomes essential. The strength you develop through pain allows you to hold both empathy and wisdom at the same time. You can care about others while still honoring your own well-being. This balance is another sign of growth. As your journey continues, you may also notice something interesting about your relationship with challenges. Instead of fearing them the way you once did, you begin to approach them with curiosity. You ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? This shift in perspective transforms the way you experience life. Difficulties no longer feel like random punishments. Instead, they become opportunities for deeper understanding. You begin to trust that even painful seasons have meaning. And this trust creates a powerful inner stability. Life will always contain uncertainty. Unexpected changes will always appear. But when you have survived the kind of pain that once threatened to break you, you develop a quiet confidence in your ability to endure. You know that no matter what happens, you will find a way forward. That knowledge becomes your foundation. Another important truth about the strength you gained is that it allows you to inspire others simply by being yourself. You do not need to stand on a stage or speak to thousands of people. Sometimes the most powerful influence happens in small, personal moments. A conversation with a friend who is struggling. A few words of encouragement to someone who feels lost. A quiet act of kindness when someone least expects it. Because of your experiences, those moments carry weight. Your words are not empty advice. They come from a place of genuine understanding. You speak from lived experience. And people can feel that authenticity. Over time, you may also notice that the things which once seemed extremely important no longer hold the same power over you. The desire to impress others fades. The need for constant recognition becomes less significant. Instead, you begin to value peace, purpose, and authenticity. You realize that life is not about collecting approval from the world. It is about becoming the person you were meant to be. The pain you survived helped reveal that truth. It stripped away illusions and forced you to examine what truly matters. It pushed you toward deeper questions about your identity, your faith, and your direction in life. Those questions were not comfortable, but they were necessary. They led you toward clarity. Now when you look back at the journey, you may still remember the moments that hurt the most. Some memories may still carry emotion. Healing does not erase the past completely. But something important has changed. Those memories no longer define you. Instead, they remind you of how far you have come. You survived seasons that once felt impossible. You endured moments that tested every part of your spirit. And yet here you are, still moving forward, still growing, still discovering new layers of strength within yourself. That is not weakness. That is resilience. And resilience is one of the most powerful qualities a person can carry. So if you ever question your worth or wonder why your path has been filled with so many challenges, remember this truth. The pain you survived was not meaningless. It was shaping your endurance. It was sharpening your wisdom. It was strengthening your spirit. Every silent battle was preparing you for the strength you carry today. And the journey is not over yet. Because the same strength that helped you survive your past will also guide you into the future that is slowly unfolding before you. And as your journey continues, another quiet realization begins to settle into your heart. The strength you carry today did not arrive suddenly. It was built piece by piece, moment by moment, through experiences that once felt unbearable. There were days when you felt like you were walking through a long tunnel with no visible end. You kept moving forward, but the darkness seemed endless. During those times, you may have wondered if life would ever feel light again. But something inside you refused to stop. Even when your energy was low. Even when your hope felt fragile. Even when your heart felt tired. You kept going. That persistence may not have looked impressive to the outside world. There were no crowds cheering you on. No applause for the silent courage it took just to wake up and face another day. But those quiet acts of endurance were shaping the person you are today. Sometimes the greatest victories in life are invisible. They happen in the privacy of your own heart, when you decide not to give up even though everything inside you wants to rest. Those moments of decision, when you choose to continue despite exhaustion, are where real strength is born. Many people think strength means never feeling pain, never feeling doubt, never feeling fear. But true strength is something deeper than that. True strength means feeling all of those things and continuing anyway. You felt fear, but you kept walking. You felt sadness, but you kept believing. You felt uncertainty, but you kept trusting that something better was still possible. That quiet courage is what separates those who simply exist from those who grow through life's challenges. And if you reflect on your past carefully, you may begin to notice how every difficult chapter changed something inside you. The heartbreaks taught you emotional depth. The struggles taught you patience. The waiting seasons taught you faith. Each experience added another layer to your character. There were also moments when you questioned yourself. Perhaps you wondered if you were too sensitive, too different, or too intense compared to the people around you. Maybe others even told you that you cared too much or thought too deeply about things. But what they did not understand is that your depth is part of your strength. Chosen ones often feel life more intensely than others. They notice small details, subtle emotions, and hidden patterns that many people overlook. This heightened awareness can sometimes feel overwhelming, especially when you are young and still learning how to manage it. But over time, that sensitivity becomes wisdom. You learn how to use your awareness as a guide rather than a burden. Instead of feeling lost in your emotions, you begin to understand them. Instead of being confused by your intuition, you begin to trust it. And slowly, your inner world becomes one of your greatest sources of strength. Another powerful transformation happens when you begin to accept your past instead of resisting it. For a long time, you may have wished certain things had never happened. You may have imagined how different your life could have been if certain people had stayed, if certain opportunities had worked out, or if certain mistakes had never occurred. Those thoughts are natural, but eventually, you reach a point where you begin to see your story from a different perspective. You start to understand that every chapter, both joyful and painful, played a role in shaping who you are today. Without those experiences, you might not have developed the resilience you now carry. You might not have gained the wisdom that allows you to navigate life with greater awareness. Your past did not only challenge you, it prepared you, and once that understanding settles into your heart, something inside you begins to relax. The need to fight against your own story fades away. Instead of seeing your life as a series of unfair events, you begin to see it as a journey of transformation. Each hardship became a teacher. Each disappointment became a lesson. Each moment of silence became a space where your spirit grew stronger. There is also something remarkable about people who have endured deep struggles. They often develop a quiet humility. When you know how fragile life can be, you stop taking simple things for granted. A peaceful moment becomes precious. A sincere conversation becomes meaningful. A genuine smile becomes powerful. You begin to appreciate the small blessings that others often overlook. This gratitude is not forced or artificial. It grows naturally from the understanding that life can change quickly, and that every peaceful moment is a gift. At the same time, you also become more careful about where you invest your energy. You realize that your time and attention are valuable resources. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every criticism deserves your attention. You learn the art of choosing your battles wisely. This is another form of strength that emerges from surviving pain. Instead of reacting to everything around you, you develop the ability to pause, observe, and respond with intention. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth to everyone. The battles you have already fought showed you that your value does not depend on the opinions of others. Your strength speaks quietly through your actions. And those who truly understand depth will recognize it without needing explanations. As the years pass, the pain that once felt overwhelming becomes part of a larger story. It becomes a chapter in the journey of your growth rather than the definition of who you are. You may still carry scars, but those scars are not signs of weakness. They are reminders of survival. They tell the story of someone who walked through fire and emerged stronger. They represent the courage it took to keep moving forward even when the path was unclear. And one day, you may realize something that once seemed impossible. You are grateful for the strength those experiences gave you. Not grateful for the pain itself, but grateful for the person you became because of it. The struggles sharpened your awareness. The loneliness deepened your faith. The uncertainty strengthened your resilience. And now you carry a kind of inner stability that cannot easily be shaken. Life will still bring challenges. That is part of the human experience. But the difference now is that you know who you are. You know what you have already survived. You know that your spirit is stronger than many of the obstacles that once seemed impossible. This confidence does not come from arrogance. It comes from experience. It comes from remembering the nights when you thought you could not continue, and yet somehow you did. It comes from remembering the moments when you felt completely lost, and yet life eventually revealed a new direction. And it comes from recognizing that every step of your journey has been shaping the strength you now carry. The truth is, chosen ones are rarely aware of their strength while they are in the middle of their trials. During those seasons, everything feels confusing and heavy. But later, when they look back, the pattern becomes clear. Every battle was preparing them. Every loss was teaching them. Every painful moment was quietly building the foundation of the person they would eventually become. And that person is someone who understands life on a deeper level. Someone who does not easily break when difficulties appear. Someone who can walk through uncertainty with faith instead of fear. So if you ever question why your path included so many challenges, remember this: strength of this kind is never accidental. It is the result of endurance. The nights you cried alone. The days you kept going despite exhaustion. The silent prayers you whispered when no one else was listening. All of those moments were shaping your spirit. They were teaching you how to survive storms, how to trust your inner guidance, and how to rise again after falling. And now, as you continue moving forward in life, you carry something that cannot be easily taken away. A strength that was born from experience. A wisdom that was earned through hardship. A resilience that was forged in silence. The pain you survived did not destroy you. It prepared you. It shaped the courage within you. It strengthened the foundation of your soul. And it helped transform you into someone capable of facing whatever comes next. Because the battles you fought in silence were never meaningless. They were building the strength of the person you are today. And as you continue walking forward in life, another truth begins to reveal itself more clearly. The strength you carry now is not only for your own survival. It is also meant to guide you into the life that is waiting ahead of you. There was a time when everything felt uncertain. Your focus was simply on getting through the storm. You were not thinking about what your struggles might mean in the future. You were only trying to hold yourself together while everything around you seemed unstable. But the storms did not last forever. Slowly, little by little, the clouds began to move. The same heart that once felt overwhelmed started to feel steadier. The same mind that once felt full of confusion started to see things more clearly. You began to understand that surviving pain changes the way you see the world. Before those experiences, You might have believed that strength came from control, having everything planned, knowing exactly where life was going. But your journey taught you something deeper than that. Real strength comes from adaptability. Life rarely follows the plans we create in our minds. Paths change, people leave, opportunities appear in unexpected ways. And sometimes the direction you thought was right turns out to be only a step towards something greater. When you survive difficult seasons, you become more flexible with life's changes. You learn how to adjust without losing yourself. You learn how to move forward even when the road looks unfamiliar. That ability is powerful. Many people struggle deeply when their expectations collapse. They feel lost when life takes a different turn than they imagined. But because of the storms you have already walked through, you know that change does not always mean failure. Sometimes change is simply redirection. Sometimes the doors that close are protecting you from paths that were never meant for you. Sometimes the delays that frustrate you are creating space for something that requires more preparation. And sometimes the pain that once felt unbearable becomes the very experience that equips you for your purpose. Purpose rarely grows from comfort alone. It grows from understanding. When you know what it feels like to struggle, you become someone who can recognize struggle in others. When you know what it feels like to feel lost, you become someone who can help others find direction. Your experiences become part of the wisdom you carry. Even the moments when you felt broken were adding depth to your understanding of life. That depth is something that cannot be taught through books or theories. It comes from living through real situations, facing real emotions, and learning how to stand up again after falling. And because you have lived through those moments, your perspective is different now. You no longer measure life only by success or failure. You understand that growth sometimes happens in quiet, unseen ways. You understand that progress is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes the most meaningful changes happen slowly, inside the heart. You begin to notice how much calmer you have become compared to your younger self. Situations that once would have shaken your confidence now feel manageable. Problems that once seemed overwhelming now feel like challenges that can be solved step by step. This calmness is not accidental. It is the result of everything you survived. Your mind learned how to endure pressure. Your heart learned how to heal after disappointment. Your spirit learned how to keep moving forward even when hope felt distant. These lessons created a foundation of inner stability. And that stability becomes one of the greatest strengths a person can have in this unpredictable world. Another change you may notice is the way you relate to time. In the past, you might have felt impatient with life. You may have wanted things to happen quickly. You may have felt frustrated when progress seemed slow. But pain teaches patience in a way that nothing else can. When you have endured long seasons of waiting, you learn that life unfolds in its own rhythm. You begin to trust that not everything needs to happen immediately. Some things require preparation. Just like a seed must spend time beneath the soil before it grows into a tree, many parts of your journey needed time to develop before they could fully appear. The struggles you experienced were part of that preparation. They strengthened your roots, and strong roots are necessary for anything that is meant to grow tall and lasting. If a tree grows too quickly without deep roots, it can easily fall when strong winds arrive. But a tree that develops slowly, building strength beneath the surface, can withstand storms that would destroy weaker structures. Your life has been following a similar pattern. The storms you faced were strengthening your foundation. They were teaching you resilience, patience, awareness, and faith. These qualities are not always visible to the outside world, but they are essential for the kind of strength that lasts. Another important realization begins to emerge as you reflect on your past. You are no longer the same person who entered those painful seasons. You have changed, not in a way that erased your kindness or compassion, but in a way that made those qualities stronger and wiser. You now understand the value of boundaries. You know that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. You know that your energy is valuable and should be shared with people who respect and appreciate it. This awareness allows you to build healthier relationships. Instead of seeking approval from everyone, you begin to focus on connections that are genuine and supportive. You become more comfortable being yourself, even if that means not everyone understands your path. Authenticity becomes more important than acceptance. And this shift brings a sense of freedom. You no longer feel the need to constantly explain your journey to others. You understand that not everyone will see the world through the same lens as you. That is okay. Your path was never meant to look identical to anyone else's. The struggles you faced were unique to your story, and the strength you developed is part of what makes your journey meaningful. Another beautiful result of surviving pain is the quiet confidence that begins to grow within you. This confidence is different from the kind that depends on achievements or recognition. It is deeper than that. It is the calm understanding that you can handle life's challenges because you already have. You know what it feels like to stand in the middle of uncertainty and still move forward. You know what it feels like to rebuild after something important falls apart. And because you know this, fear no longer has the same control over your decisions. You become more willing to step into new opportunities. You become more open to exploring paths that once seemed intimidating. Not because you believe everything will always go perfectly, but because you trust your ability to adapt if things change. This trust in yourself is powerful. It allows you to move through life with courage instead of hesitation. And as you continue walking this path, you may begin to notice something remarkable. The same strength that helped you survive your past is now guiding you toward your future. Opportunities begin to appear that match the person you have become. Situations arise where your wisdom and experience become valuable. People enter your life who appreciate the depth of your character. It may not happen suddenly or dramatically, but gradually, step by step, life begins to align with the person you have grown into. The pain you once questioned starts to make more sense. You see how each experience prepared you for something that required strength, patience, and understanding. And you realize that the battles you fought in silence were not wasted. They were shaping a spirit that could endure, a heart that could empathize, and a mind that could see beyond surface appearances. All of that preparation created the strength you now carry. A strength that cannot be easily shaken by temporary difficulties. A strength that allows you to walk through life with greater awareness, deeper compassion, and stronger faith. So whenever you remember the pain you survived, try to see it not only as suffering but also as transformation. Those moments were part of the process that shaped your resilience. They helped you discover the depth of your spirit. And they prepared you to become someone who can stand firm even when life becomes uncertain. Because the truth remains simple and powerful. The pain you survived was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of your strength.